Let's read to find out. Looking at the Gospel of Mark, chapter 2, verses 1 to 12. This is the New Revised Standard Version. When he, Jesus, returned to Capernaum after some days, it was reported that he was at home. So many gathered around that there was no longer room for them, not even in front of the door, and he was speaking the word to them. Then some people came, bringing to him a paralyzed man, carried by 4 of them. And when they could not bring him to Jesus because of the crowd, they removed the roof above him, and after having dug through it, they let down the mat on which the paralytic lay. When Jesus saw their faith, he said to the paralytic, "Son, your sins are forgiven." Now, some of the scribes were sitting there questioning in their hearts, "Why does this fellow speak in this way? It's blasphemy. Who can forgive sins but God alone?" At once Jesus perceived in his spirit that they were discussing these questions among themselves, and he said to them, "Why do you raise such questions in your hearts? Which is easier to say to the paralytic, 'Your sins are forgiven,' or to say, 'Stand up and take your mat and walk'? But so that you may know that the Son of Man has authority on earth to forgive sins," he said to the paralytic, "I say to you, stand up, take your mat, and go to your home." And he stood up and immediately took the mat and went out before all of them, so that they were all amazed and glorified God, saying, "We have never seen anything like this." As the story unfolds, most readers would draw an obvious conclusion. Besides Jesus, the paralytic and his friends are the main characters here. That's what we would think. And yet, with this verse, now some of the scribes were sitting there questioning in their hearts, the whole story shifts to a different conversation, with the scribes coming to the forefront and the paralyzed man and his friends, to some extent, fading to the background. What causes these scribes doubt or disbelief? It seems that they are too big for their boots. They are overconfident and trust too much in tradition and what it teaches them, of course, of who God is and, for sure, who God isn't, of what God does and what God doesn't do. And their tradition leaves no room for God to move in new ways or fresh ways. I don't know if you've seen Hidden Figures. It's an inspiring movie based upon true events about some African American women in the early days of the space program who had integral roles in doing the math that literally lifted men into space. The events occur in the early 60s, and an obvious subplot of the movie is segregation. And regarding black and white separation, there are some white characters who are so entrenched in their traditions that they're not open to God doing a new thing. And then there are others who, though not overly sympathetic with the plight of the black characters, are relatively more open, and they begin to take actions that make a tangible difference at NASA in how it treats minorities, from bathroom usage to promotion. Those that didn't care about the plight of the African American community in their workplace in the movie, they felt justified by their tradition. A tradition that benefited the majority greatly. And, to me at least, as it has always been throughout history, they were lesser people because of their unwillingness to let go and see what God was doing. The scribes in today's story certainly show a similar lack of concern for the plight of the paralytic in the story. They are only concerned with the rules of their tradition, a tradition that benefits them and justifies the callousness we witness toward the paralytic in the story. In another place, in the Gospel of John, chapter 5, Jesus is speaking to those like the scribes when he says, "You search the Scriptures because you think that in them you have eternal life, and yet it is they that testify on my behalf. Yet you refuse to come to me and have life. This verse gets at how the scribes missed the boat by leaning on their traditions. The temptation toward leaning only on what they already know is simply that. It's known, right? It's what they know. It requires no faith. And they find great comfort in what they know. They also can control and manage that tradition much more than relying on a living relationship with a mysterious God who reveals a new way of relating to sin. Now guys, think about this. We're not just talking about tradition versus new things. I mean, this is sort of the new thing, right? This is the gospel. This is Jesus himself coming to planet Earth, forgiving sins. I mean, this is the true story. We all know it. None of us would be here today if the scribes were right in what they thought. Yet tradition is always tempting because we don't really want to have to rely on faith, do we? No one likes to step out in places where they have to trust God more than they trust themselves. And so God is promising through Jesus Christ forgiveness, right? We know this. We are looking back on the story. It's easy for us. But then they ask the question, who can forgive sins but God alone? That's true, right? And that's what makes this such a complicated equation for them. Because if that's true and Jesus can forgive sins, what does that mean about Jesus? You see, they are so close. They are so close and yet so far away. Their tradition is correct. Only God forgives sins, yet they are utterly wrong. Jesus can forgive sins because he is God. Their tradition blinds them to God's heart and God's will for the world. And in this verse from John, we see what the scribes miss out on by refusing to come unto him. The life that results from being forgiven of our sins. Jesus says in this John verse, yet you refuse to come to me and have life. Tradition can cause us to be rigid, hard, arrogant. Whether it's the scribes in this story or the 1960s white culture of hidden figures. And in our arrogance and rigidness, we miss out on life. Yet the paralytic and his friends had no such arrogance, did they? They come any way they can get there to see Jesus. They're so desperate. They're willing to do anything to get into his presence. They are not prideful. They are not arrogant. They are not rigid. They just want to come to him. Communal faith. Communal faith, these four, and actually it says that there could have been more. There were four that were carrying, but there's a group of people there that there's not a specific number for. So this may even be more than four, but communal faith is powerful in this story. It is the power also of our church family. We have no idea of any individual's faith in this story. Even the paralytics. In fact, he may have been doubting or having a really bad day. He may have been in utter pain. And yet Jesus sees their willingness to risk. He sees their lack of arrogance, their openness to God's new thing that God is doing. And Scripture says this, when Jesus saw their faith, not his faith, when Jesus saw their faith, he proclaimed, Son, individual, your sins are forgiven. Like the white culture in Hidden Figures or the scribes in today's story, what traditions might you be holding on to rather than coming to Jesus to find your life? For the faithful in today's story did not rely on tradition or control. Rather, they threw everything to the wind, including their reputation, as they literally dug their way in to see Jesus. In a world electrified by fear, reacting again and again as a child in his dark room, thinking every sound is a monster under the bed. It's time to detox. It's time to clean out our fear. How do we do that? How do we come to Jesus? How do we not get locked in to what we think we know or our desire to control in this world, in this culture that we live in right now? How do we detox from that temptation? Well, God calls us, just like this paralytic's family of friends, to have collective faith. God calls us as the church to remind one another, to support one another, literally carry one another in our fearful and our weak moments, that we may together remember that God is sovereign. Right now, today, that Jesus is Lord. Right now, today. And as the angels proclaim in Scripture again and again, not to be afraid. We do not have to be afraid. When Jesus saw their faith, God calls us to lean on one another, to trust one another, to respond to all this world throws at us in faith. To respond to all this world throws at us in faith. Trusting God together, encouraging each other to trust God together more than we trust ourselves or our traditions or our ability to think that we're in control. As the John passage proclaims, they came to Jesus and found life. Regarding all the fears that can leave us in bondage, may we come together as a family of faith and, like those friends, do whatever it takes to stand against our fears and come into Jesus' presence. For it's day by day, moment by moment, as we come into His presence that we find life. That's one of the gifts of worship. It's one of the gifts of being here. It's one of the gifts of our time of confession and our time of praying for the world and our time of hearing and encouragement from God's Word every week. A time to surrender as we sing praise and worship to God. These are all things that come together communally that encourage our faith and remind us to not be afraid and remind us who's sovereign and who's the Lord and who is not. The culmination of the new thing God was doing in Jesus' life and death and resurrection is found in what we celebrate today at this table. The scribe could not imagine forgiveness coming through Jesus, and yet that was exactly the new thing that God was doing. Yet I love this in the story. I mean, I don't know if you've thought about this, but Jesus doesn't give up on the scribe. I mean, the whole story, those with the faith, those, you might call them, remember, there's 100 sheep and one wanders off, and Jesus says the shepherd gladly leaves the 99 in order to go find the one. And in this moment, the 99, those that are faithful, they're standing there, and the focus fades as it turns over to the scribe. And Jesus says to him, which is harder, to say, I forgive your sins, or to heal him, so that you may know that I, the Son of Man, am able to forgive sins. Take up your mat and walk, he says to the way. Jesus doesn't give up on the scribe. He doesn't give up on you or me when we are stuck, mired, neck deep in our own traditions and in our own limitations and in our own desire to control. He never gives up. We don't know, do we, how the scribes respond. We don't know what happened. We know that the people around there were celebrating in what they saw. But those scribes had every opportunity to reconsider, and so do you, and so do I. We are called by God to come to Jesus and find our life here at this table. What fears do you need to lay down this morning at this table? What do you need to lay down as you come to Him, that you might receive life and freedom from the bondage of fear? The promise of the gospel is that we are forgiven, and we are able, because of that forgiveness that's found and represented here at this table, we are able to come to Him freely and openly and find life. My encouragement to you is don't miss out on this opportunity right here, right now. Let's lay some things down and let's receive afresh and renewed by God's Spirit Jesus' grace, His forgiveness, His holiness, His healing. And we remember that God is sovereign and Jesus is Lord. This is not a Presbyterian table, this is the Lord's table, and anyone is welcome here who proclaims Jesus as your Lord and Savior. In the same way today, if you don't feel ready to take communion, that's okay. No one's judging you, no one is watching. This is